Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Bucco Brew, powered by DeFair Coffee and Tea. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, of course, is Jim Rosati. Jim, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. It was a busy weekend. I think both of us had a pretty busy weekend. You were traveling. It was Kentucky Derby down here in Louisville. So
that's right.
Yeah. Mark asking if we're live right now. So I don't know.
We are live.
I don't know if that answers his question. Good morning, Mark.
Yeah, we are weirdos. We're live at 7 o'clock a.m. But that's what we do. But yeah, so you had a busy weekend. It was Kentucky Derby. I had a busy weekend. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, seeing the Kendrick SZA concert, which was really, really good. So I didn't watch any of the games on Saturday or Sunday. So double good.
It was probably for the best.
Yeah. I had a good excuse, I guess, because I would have watched them, obviously. I watch every game, but I couldn't. And I was kind of relieved. And we're actually debating on whether to go or not, because tickets were really expensive. And we had to travel to Charlotte to do so. And it's like, is it really worth it? And it was going to rain, and it did. But it pretty much, it was pouring. We were literally on the highway going 15 miles an hour. Getting into Charlotte. Awful. It was awful. And then it cleared up literally an hour before the show, and it started raining the very last set. But it was a very, very good show. Doesn't sound like it was the same for Pirate viewers, Jim.
No, it was a rough weekend. It was just bad baseball all around. We talked about it at length in our post-game show, so we can always go back there and kind of where we discuss where we break down the game and stuff. But yeah, it's just it was a lot of the same. They were completely outclassed by the Padres, just like they were outclassed by the Cubs, just like they were outclassed by the Dodgers, just like they were outclassed by it's just over and over again. The problem with this team is they're just not good enough. They're not good enough to beat the opponents on the other side of the field over and over and over again.
It's one of those things, like I said, I didn't watch the games, but when I could, I was following along on Twitter. Obviously I listened to the post-game shows. Seems like I watched the game because I've seen this game happen. What's 28 other times? Is it 30 games right now? No, 35.
There are 35 games in.
Yeah, so I've watched this game 33 times. That's all.
Yeah. I said it's just so much. It's the losses kind of all seem to be mostly similar. There's some games where they just don't have it and they lose. But most of these losses, it's just the pitching's fine or at least good enough to win, and the offense just does nothing. Yep. Or the base running and the offense and the defense are it's multiple facets of the game that just they're not major league caliber.
I feel you, man. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this before we go further. DeFair, of course, the sponsor here for our show. DeFair is a family and employee-owned and operated business. They believe that coffee and tea are one of life's simplest and most accessible pleasures, and when enjoyed thoughtfully, can open your eyes to the here and now. We have 5 locations across the city of Pittsburgh, including our flagship in the heart of Pittsburgh Historic Strip District. To learn more, check us out on Instagram or head on over to our website, defair.coffee. That is DEFER.coffee. Definitely go and check them out. Jim and I, we both have them on our monthly subscriptions for coffee. Good stuff. Good stuff for sure. There you go. Here's my Bucco Brew. Look at that. You can get a mug too if you want.
Yeah, the mugs are nice.
They are nice. I think to hint that they might be in a drop soon.
Yeah. Joey asks how you take your coffee. Just regular, splash of cream, 1 packet of Splenda.
For me, it varies on what I want, what I do. For this hot coffee, just some oat milk, and depending on we have honey. Sometimes I do caramel. Sometimes that's about it.
Fancy.
Yeah. Well, I guess really I do that more with iced. With hot, usually just oat milk.
I get it.
Yeah.
Some news this weekend. Dennis Santana came back from the bereavement list. Kyle Nicholas sent down to AAA. Justin Lawrence moved from the 15-day IL to the 60-day IL. So, we kind of had some concerns about the length of that injury, and that at least confirms that at a minimum, he's out 2 months. Stratton sent back down. Tanner Rainey brought up from AAA, guy that we discussed a little bit towards the end of spring training. He's up. He looked actually pretty good yesterday. I'm not expecting much from Rainey. Hopefully this is a pretty short-term thing.
Right.
And then Peguero also called up because IKF placed on the IL. So month into the season, and the injuries are starting to stack up here a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean they've started
great.
They're
Yeah,
continuing to.
It's with a team that isn't really that deep. It's not ideal. Not ideal. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 infielders on the IL right now, between Endy, Horwitz, Gonzalez, and IKF. And then with Jones and Oviedo, Lawrence, Meza, Moretta. So you've got 9 guys now on the IL. 9 guys that you're kind of expecting to help the team out in some capacity. So they're having to dig down deep into their depth right now, and they weren't really winning before they had to do that all too much. So not a great sign.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the issues. Coming into here, there wasn't a whole lot of depth to begin with. Pitching side, there certainly was. That's one thing we talked about. Pitching, they could, like, when Jones goes down, you don't want to see that, right? Jones helps the team, but it's not something where, okay, this is catastrophic. What's going to happen? There's depth, and that's all. The starting pitching has still been pretty solid. The depth is showing, it's holding up. But on the offensive side, and to a degree, the relievers, that's where it's not that deep. And to be honest, it's not that strong as far as the starting 9 as it goes. So yeah, I mean, you're really seeing the effect of it because, right, like they're just not simply that good of a team. They're struggling, and with the injuries piling up now, like it just, I want to say tougher, but the reality is tougher for what? Tougher to get back to a 500 team, hopefully. Tougher to get back to maybe last year's record. That's to remain seen. But yeah, it's certainly tough if there's going to be anything to change this team around.
It's gonna be real tough. They need offense, and they need it bad, and they're not getting it from anybody outside. Cruz, Kutch, Bart has been hitting well. And then, you thought Reynolds was turning it around. Tyler even declared on Friday night, I think it was. Was it Friday? It was Thursday or Friday. He declared Reynolds hot streak.
Oh yeah, Thursday when he and I were on.
And
well, that
as soon as he did that, he had back-to-back like pretty bad games this weekend. So
yeah, I was arguing and saying no, it's not starting. We're in the midst of it.
Yeah, like he has to get going. He has to be better. Like the Pirates are not going to accomplish what they want to accomplish with Brian Reynolds being an 82 weighted runs created plus hitter. He's got a 663 OPS right now. He's batting 237. I mean, this is his worst year since that shortened 2020 season where he was terrible. Since then, he's been a good hitter for 4 straight years. And so far, you are always used to him starting off a little bit slower, and then he heats up as, May, June, July comes. But he doesn't start off this slow typically. Like a slow start for Reynolds means he's got like I think his career April weighted runs created plus is let's see, it's 107. So like even though he starts slow, like he's still an above average hitter typically in the month of April. This is a really bad start for him. They need him to get going.
Yeah, 100%. You absolutely have to, because ONeal Cruz is taking off. We know he's a star, but Brian Reynolds is the steady Eddie. Brian Reynolds is the guy that comes in, shows up, puts up his offense. He's going to be a 20% above average league hitter. He's going to have his 28, 29 home runs, right? And call it a day. And you need that. And especially in this lineup where Cruz, who is taking off, is batting leadoff, and Kutch is usually batting around third. He's right in between. And if he's going to be this bad, it's kind of like what Tyler was saying the other night. Like, well, teams don't need to pitch to Cruz. So, your biggest weapon, who's number one, getting the most at bats, is getting walked, ending up on second, and then being stranded. Sounds like success to me if you're the opposite team. So, yeah, like that is a problem. He does need to get going. But on the other hand, I will say this, right? And this isn't excuses, but like to say, he's showing to be unlucky if you're into expected stats. Right, his WOBA right now is a 290. His expected WOBA is a 358, and a 358 is good. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Look at the batted profile. You could say he's maybe getting a bit unlucky. In some level, like we talked about this with Kutch last year. His April was really, really bad, but his was unlucky in a different manner as well, too. His was like home runs that were getting robbed and stuff, and different parks he was in and whatnot. But to some level and degree, Brian Reynolds has been unlucky. Now that's something I can buy more into. When you tell me Brian Reynolds is batting poorly right now, he's been a bit unlucky. Well, you know what? The norm is he's a good hitter. So I tend to believe that way, and that makes me feel as if maybe some things will turn around for him. They got to start quickly, though. Like, this can't continue and continue and continue. And then the story of Brian Reynolds all season was like, well, he was just unlucky, right? Things have to start falling and dropping for him to be a better player.
But if you're unlucky for too long, then it's just bad.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I get becoming unlucky turns into just bad.
And I get that. But I want to state this to say that I believe Brian Reynolds can turn this around. Things aren't telling me that, okay, well, this is a problem and this is going to stay this way, and he's just completely different. He's washed. He's declining. This just tells me maybe there's more bad luck involved than just he's off to a slow start, or it's a combination, right? But there's a good chance I believe in Brian Reynolds to turn this around. It's not as if it's like, not to harp on, but Canario's batting poorly, right? Same situation. I'm not believing that, okay, well, Canario is a good player. This is just bad luck. Brian Reynolds has a track record.
Yeah, he has a track record of being a pretty good hitter. And he needs to start being a pretty good hitter.
Right.
Like, this offense only has so many people who are even capable of producing offense. The ones who are capable of it, like, they got to do it, or you're going to find yourself in the situation that we're in now, which is, I think they're still the 27th best offense in baseball right now.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, 27th isn't very high. And the teams around you are all bad teams. Actually, we're 28th in offense, tied with the White Sox for 27th in offense. And so, like, when you're tied with the White Sox in anything, it's not a good look.
And I assume they're above what, Colorado
and the Royals, who are also not playing very well.
Right. Kind of tells you something there. But to your point, like, that's kind of the issue. You said, like, the guys that need to start hitting, but the problem is there's only really four. Like, it's ONeal Cruz, Brian Reynolds, Andrew McCutchen, and Joey Bart. After that, no one else is really supposed to be hitting. No one else has shown they can hit to, you know what I mean? Like, in that manner. Like, yes, Henry Davis should be hitting, right? But he hasn't proven that he can yet. Like, there's no one in this lineup that you say, well, he should be hitting because he has been hitting, or he is a hitter. That's it, 1 through 4. So that's the problem you're talking about. When 25% of the guys who should be hitting is not, and that leaves with the entire lineup being 1/3 of it hitters. Yeah, like, you're not going to win ball games. And the other 2/3, it's not as if they're near average. they're pathetic. I mean, we're talking these guys are 60, 80%, somewhat 92% below league average and such. I mean, it's pathetic towards the end. So that's why this team is just not built for guys to have prolonged lapses or struggles.
No, they're not. And it's crazy how good of an offensive year ONeal Cruz is having. And I mean, ONeal Cruz is 147 weighted runs created plus. It's his best offensive year by far. He is just, I mean, he's breaking out. He is breaking out right now offensively. And it's just not enough. Like, you're seeing the games where he does impact, but there's not enough help for him. That game on Saturday where he went 1 for 1 in 5 plate appearances. The only time that he even got an opportunity to hit the ball, he hit it like 119 miles an hour, and he drove in the only run of the game. The other 4 times up, they just walked him because it was like, well, no one else can beat us, so we'll just put you on base. And at that point, you're almost conceding second because he's going to take second most of the time. He didn't do that on Saturday, but like ONeal Cruz was on base 5 times on Saturday out of the leadoff spot and didn't score. If you're the leadoff hitter and the guys batting behind you are your best hitters, after yourself, and you can't find a way to score over 5 plate appearances, what are we doing here?
Just to kind of touch on ONeal too. Something I tweeted yesterday to talk about here as well, just a tad. But one of the things we talked about, if this team was going to be competitive, like this team needed to have an Andrew McCutchen type of player, right? The only person that can do that is ONeal Cruz. So if this team is going to compete, you probably need ONeal Cruz to break out and be that star. 1.2 WAR right now. He's on a 5.7 WAR pace. Like, he's doing that. That's what just like befuddles me too. Like, ONeal Cruz is doing what you need him to do for this team to be good. And to say that ONeal Cruz is breaking out to be a 5.5 to 6 WAR type of player, and this team is 11 games under 500 and doing so on May 5th, well, technically May 4th. What? By the way, also on pace for 111 walks. ONeal Cruz is on pace for 111 walks. In 35 games, he has 35 strikeouts, 24 walks.
Yeah. He's got an 18% walk rate, which is crazy. Strikeout rate's down. It's, again, you talk about like comparing him. They needed somebody to have a season like that. When Andrew McCutchen was top tier Andrew McCutchen, his weighted runs created plus over a 4-year span, 158, 156, 169, 144. Cruz is at 147. So he's like he's having the offensive type of season that we were asking for. Mm-hmm. He's having that Andrew McCutchen type offensive season in terms of productivity when Kutch was at his peak. Now, the defense hasn't been great for Cruz, and that's obviously going to limit his upside. I will say this, though. The defense has been better. I think when we were on this show last week, he had -11 defensive runs saved in center field. Well, guess what? Yes. It's -9, which means it got better over the last week. So you hope that he can continue to get like a little bit more comfortable in there. His outs above average now is actually just -1. I think it was -3 before. So like he's getting better defensively. And so you hope that he can just continue to get better and more comfortable out there. Because obviously they need that too. But he's like the one guy where he's an impact player in this lineup. The problem is that there's not enough around him.
100%. 100%. Just like a real quick recap, and I'm gonna like lead this off to you because again, it's not fair. I didn't watch 2 out of the 3 games, but just to touch on this Padres, it's my perspective. Again, I'm bouncing off too, but my perspective is like just much of the same. The issues that you're having in the first series against the Marlins seem like they cleaned up a bit, and we're just right back there. Like, it's one thing to not be talented. It's one thing to have a bad series and get swept. It's another thing to just be completely outclassed, outplayed. Guys just not knowing how to play the game of baseball. Sounds like that's what pretty much happened on top of just being bad at baseball.
Yeah, it was just a lack of fundamental baseball. I mean, you had poor base running, you had guys getting picked off, you had guys taken off when they shouldn't have. You had decisions in the field that shouldn't have been made. You had guys throwing the ball to the backstop. You had catchers not being able to corral balls in the dirt. It was frustrating to watch this series, and they just were a bad baseball team all weekend. And it was like Saturday's game. I'll say, like, Fernando Tatis was just, there's a reason why Fernando Tatis Jr. is one of the best players in baseball. And like that dude single-handedly won that game for the Padres. And we've seen ONeal Cruz has single-handedly won games for the Pirates. Well, Saturday, Fernando Tatis Jr. single-handedly won a game for the Padres. It was just, he was the best player on the field that day. And he made an impact and he won the game. Now, the Pirates only scored 1 run. So it's like, if you could have just scored 3 runs, then it wouldn't have mattered. Like, Tatis being insane in the final inning wouldn't have mattered. So it's, again, it just comes back to lack of offense. And when you can't score runs very consistently, you can't make the mistakes that you do all the time. You have to play near perfect baseball if you want to win in the margins, right? If you want to win in the margins, if you want to win kind of playing this small ball, which is the kind of team this team is, because they don't have guys who can bop it over the fence. They're gonna have to play like good, sound, fundamental baseball. And that's the complete opposite of what we see night in and night out.
Yeah, it is. They're not even breaking even on the margins. I mean, they're losing terribly in the margins. They're losing everywhere except at leadoff spot, probably at most nights, and the starting pitcher once every 5 days. Outside of that, and I just say, like, again, like, the starting pitching has been fine, but outside of that, it's probably like an even good matchup. You know, I'll say that. Like, when Mitch Keller's facing whomever, Mitch Keller might have the upper hand. The other person might have the upper hand. It might be an evenly matched up thing. You know, like, it's only when Paul Skeens takes the mound that you're like, okay, that's clearly the better guy. And ONeal Cruz against their leadoff hitter, probably the better leadoff hitter. And after that, you're not winning anything. Again, this team is just void of talent, and they're just not playing good baseball either. Like, you can't make up, like, they're not making up for the bad talent in any way. They're making it worse. So, yeah, that's what it sounds like. You talk about the bullpen, right? Tanner Rainey did come up. He was a guy, if you remember, talked about a little bit. I found him intriguing. It's good for depth, but the good news is Cal Nicholas's option, Santana is back. Some more reinforcements that were here. Santana's off the bereavement list, so yeah, he's back. Kyle Nicholas is gone. Yes, Holderman's still there. Tyler Rainey's here for now, or Tanner Rainey's here for now, and whatever. I'll kind of take that at this point in time. But yeah, so I guess the end of the day, just kind of talking. Santana being back is big for this bullpen for right now, if that means anything.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, for the last 5 years, people were saying trade David Bednar, trade David Bednar. What's the point of having this world-class closer if you're not winning games anyways, right? So like, it's nice to have Dennis Santana back. Like, he pitched yesterday in the 8th inning of a 4-0 ball game that we were losing. They need better. They need to create opportunities where Dennis Santana matters.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about that then, because that's really the meat and potatoes of this show. Team is 12-23.
Yeah.
Jim, I don't know what's going to happen. I can speculate. I have my thoughts on it. Talk about behind the scenes, but whatever. But let's just talk what probably needs to happen. Derek Shelton, Ben Cherington, pressure's on. Regardless if they're staying, they're not staying, whatever. I mean, something has to happen if you really think that this team's going to be something. And Ben apparently thinks so, as he came out and said it. It's more or less like there's urgency. They need to do something, but they also can't rush anything because you don't want to make a mistake.
What a quote. You need to be urgent every day and not in a rush. So like
I'll say this.
We gotta really
I get it. I get what he's trying to say. But
he's saying that, yeah, like you don't want to make a decision that in the long run going to be even worse than the track that you're on. But it's like, what's worse than this? There's not too much that's worse than this.
Let's find out.
And he goes on to say just a couple quotes from yesterday's from his radio show, and this is just some word salad, but if you want to hear it, we shouldn't be patient. We should not be patient about getting better today. Whatever that is. It certainly starts with me. It doesn't end with me. It's got to extend to everybody on our team, our staff, etc. We all have to be urgent and not patient about getting better. It's doing both all the time. No, we shouldn't be patient. We dug ourselves a hole. It's not where we wanted to be at this point. I also still believe and really believe that we've got good baseball ahead of us. We've got to go do our jobs to make that happen. And kind of where I feel like there's just, this is where the lack of urgency comes into play. He comes on here to quote later. We really like where Triolo's at bats are turning to. It was a tough start to the year for him, but I feel like in the last 10 days or so, he's starting to get into some balls. Hit a couple balls that maybe would have been home runs in other spots. So we feel like he's in a good spot offensively. We feel Jared Triolo is in a good spot offensively. I mean, this is just kind of where I'm getting at. It's like,
Jim,
you just can't. Why are you saying stuff like that? The dude has 709 major league plate appearances. He has an 81 weighted runs created plus for his career. This year, he's hitting 160. He's slugging 220. No one wants to hear this. No one wants to hear that Jared Triolo's bat is in a good place right now. And if that's what you think, then it's and don't get me wrong. I think Jared Triolo has had some pretty good at bats over the last week or so. If you look at his expected WOBA, it's trending up, but it's still well below league average. Like, it's not good.
Right.
It's not at a good spot. He's better than the worst hitter. And actually, no, last year for the course of the entire year, he was basically the worst hitter in baseball. I love Jared Triolo and what he brings to the team defensively, but let's not pretend Jared Triolo is some offensive threat. And so when you say these sorts of things right after you just got done saying we can't be patient, it's like, buddy, you just said we can't be patient, and now it's like, oh, we got to show some patience with Jared Triolo and his 15 weighted runs created plus. He's only been 85% below league average offensively this year. So, we need to show some more patience there. I think Jared Triolo has a spot on this roster. I think he's a major leaguer because of the defensive versatility. When he's playing every day, right, it's a problem. But these are the things that people don't want to hear right now, especially when you're 12-23. You can't be patient. The season is almost, I mean, I want to say the season's over at this point, but we've seen it happen a couple times where teams have turned around from a start like this to go on and have a good year. But you're looking at a 2.1% chance of making the playoffs right now. You're projected to go 73-89. You have to play winning baseball from this point forward. You have to be above 500 from this point forward to even match last year's 76 win total.
Mm-hmm.
76 wins is still 10 games under 500 for the year. Mm-hmm. And it's not enough. That's not good enough. So even if this team, it starts clicking for them and they play above 500 ball, which I don't know how you can even think that's even possible at this point. But if they play above 500 ball from this point forward, they're the same thing as they were last year, which was a bad baseball team. In order for them to even get to where they want to be, like, this team's going to have to be 15 games over 500 the rest of the way. They're going to have to play some of the best baseball in the majors from this point forward. And it's like,
that's the
what?
key there.
Yeah, like there's no sign that they're even capable of doing something like that. So it's like, yeah, it's time to rush into stuff. Like the time's done. The season's done. There's no coming back from this. I said, unless some miracle happens and the entire lineup starts hitting, like, what signs have we seen that that's going to happen over the course of every single one of these players' careers? They have shown us over and over and over again that they can't do it. And it was the message coming into this season was like, you didn't do enough this offseason to address the offense. And now you're seeing the results of that, because the one guy that you did go out there to get, you acquired him while he had a chronic wrist injury, and he hasn't even stepped on the field yet. The season's over before your primary offensive acquisition even sees the field. Yeah. It's time for drastic changes. The manager needs fired. The general manager needs to go. Like, this isn't working, Ben Cherington. This isn't working. I don't want you drafting the next draft pick for this team. I don't want you going into the trade deadline making moves that are going to affect this franchise over the next 5, 6, 7 years, because that's what's going to happen. Is they're going to be sellers at the deadline, which means Mitch Keller's probably gone, Andrew Heaney's probably gone, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's probably gone, and like Dennis Santana's probably gone, right? And so do you trust Ben Cherington to get the return for those guys that they need to get? I don't, because he hasn't been able to do it up to this point. And do you trust Derek Shelton to turn this team around so that they're playing the best baseball in the majors from now till the end of the season?
No.
Time's now. Like, we're just wasting time every day that we just delay this.
Well, you said everything. So you're on a roll there, Jim. But that's the case. Now, like, to talk from just a complete rational perspective, it's still early in this season. Like, it's 35 games. There's 162. That's why I say this. Like, in a rational point of view, it is still early in the season. Teams can turn around. Like, teams shouldn't be panicking 35 games into a season, right? That's not what teams should be doing. The issue is, from a realistic point of view, right, and knowing what this team is, you're 100% correct. So like when Ben's talking about, like, all this stuff, and I still believe they can turn around whatever, like a team can, but this team doesn't have it in them to. Like, so like all the stuff you put out there is great perspective that I want people to understand. Like, it is early in the season. That is true. And I don't think I have to change many people's perspectives on this. So trust me, I'm speaking to a very, very minority here, if any, right? But thing is, like, this team isn't built that. They have to. You're right. Like, they have to be the Dodgers here on out in order to make the playoffs. This team isn't built for that. Like, you just saw them play the Cubs. That's a team that can do that. Those arms are, this is what we talked about early in the season too. Like, when you really look at the Cubs, their arms are pretty closely matched to the Pirates, actually. The Pirates have a really good rotation and such, but like, the Cubs aren't bad. Then you look at that offense and it's like, oh, buddy, that offense is good, unlike the Pirates. And you saw it firsthand. The Pirates can't beat the Cubs the rest of the year. I just don't see that. Now, they are getting reinforcements. Like Spencer Horwitz will come back. Is he going to be as bad as, and I know Nola here, put it in the chat. He's 2 for 16 in AA. And again, he's coming off the injury. Like, this is what rehab's for. I don't expect him being 2 for 16 in AA type of a player. Probably can be an improvement, but it's a slight improvement. Nick Gonzalez comes back. There's an improvement, right? Bubba making the call up here, maybe this week. Certainly an improvement. all these improvements, all they're doing is getting you back to what you thought you were, which is 78 win type of a team, 76 win type of team, maybe 80, somewhere in that range. So the rest of the year, you're still playing below 500 baseball because now you are who we thought you were finally. So playing below 500 baseball when you're already 11 games under 500 doesn't equate playoffs. I don't see it. And if they beat expectations and they're above 500, then they finish the game 10 games under 500 instead of 11 or 12 or 13. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, this team's in a lot of shit right now if they're going to be contenders. And that's where I'm with you. Like, my point of view on this is drastic measures need to be taken if there's going to be any type of a hope, which I think you're past that. But even if you are past that, if this is what they're doing this year, does this warrant jobs for anybody? Like, does this warrant a job? Oh, we need you back because look what you've done in 6 years of a rebuild, and we've stayed the same for 2 years, and then we got worse in the third year of the second half of a 6-year rebuild. That's what we've done. Are jobs warranted? And if they aren't, like, you should be making that decision or having an understanding of that decision at this point. And if you're coming to that decision that you don't deserve a job for next year, why are you hanging on to anyone? That's where I'm at with this. If you're making a decision that this ain't it for Derek, this ain't it for Ben, why are you hanging on? Now, Bob might not have come to that decision yet. But if you are, I swear to God, I hope you're not hanging on to them. Because that does you no good. Because if you're letting someone go because they've done a poor job, why allow them to continue to do a poor job, to continue further putting this organization further on the bad side of things?
It's bleak. It's bleak.
It's very.
They have to. I mean, and this is just to kind of throw some numbers out there on what needs to happen here. Like, the expectation for 2025 was to make the playoffs. I like that's what you had to do. Like you can't. You've got Paul Skeens on this team. You need to make the playoffs with Paul Skeens on your team. That's plain and simple. And you got to imagine, like, so the Cubs are on pace to win. You know, the Cubs are projected to win 88 games this year. So if you want to win 89 games from this point forward, it means you have to be 77-50. You have to be 27 games above 500 the rest of the way to win 89 games. That's a 606 winning percentage. That's playing at a 98 win pace over the course of a season from now until the end of the year. That's not possible. This team is not capable of doing that. And so then you've got to look at the people. Okay, who's in charge of the product on the field? Who's in charge of constructing this team? Because they failed miserably.
It's a failure.
And just it is a failure. We're in year 6, and this is where we're at. You can't let this continue. You can't let this go into a year 7 of another wasted year of Paul Skeens, of another wasted year of these guys that you've signed long-term contracts with, where it's like, this is your window. And you're almost even looking now where if this is who this team is and they don't at least correct course a little bit, which I think they will. Like, I don't think this team is a 100 loss team. I still think this team is somewhere in like the 70-75 win territory as opposed to the 60-65 win territory. But that's still not good enough. It's nowhere near good enough.
Correct.
And so
like the point I was
you've got to, you got to try something different.
Right. Like, there will be a correction. There will be a course correction. But that course correction doesn't lead to playoffs by any means. It leads to them being a probably 78 win type of year, which means that they're going to end up being like a 70 win team.
I say 78. You know? I was if they play at like a 78 win pace from this point forward, they're like a 70 win team.
Right. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, things will correct. things will go back to the mean, which means they're going to play at a 78 win pace season. So there you go. There you go. And if they're lucky enough to exceed it, then maybe they're a 500. And that means if they're 500, then they're 11 games under 500 at the end of the year.
Yep.
So, yeah. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I have this is just a gut feeling. This is just my thoughts. Nothing leading to this, but I really do feel they're both going before the trade deadline. I just have that gut feeling. I think Bob's going to do it. Too much is happening. Too much is happening right now. Again, my whole talk, we talked about behind the scenes. When the last regime went, 2019 wasn't like this in April and May. It was kind of whatever. They hung. They're a competitive team, but and then the playoffs came, and all you heard right and left was this pitcher and that pitcher and this guy and that guy and all the ex-Pirates in the playoffs, and they're just outperforming. And Bob was getting embarrassed, and Bob was like, "This is ridiculous. Everyone's talking bad about me, and look where we're at now." And he let everyone go. Like the embarrassment came in September and October. The embarrassment's here now in April and May. If he's getting embarrassed and he's seeing the writing on the wall now, that's what I'm alluding to. Why are you going to wait and allow them to continue to keep making decisions and moves? I think he's seeing the writing on the wall. There's a lot of writings on a lot of walls right now for many different people. I don't know. I don't think people are going to last the All-Star break. I think things are coming. Again, it's just personal. I could be completely wrong, but that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, so just throwing this out there, like if you're Ben Cherington at this point, like your last card that you can play, like your wild card here to try to save your job is firing Shelton, replacing him with an interim manager, and then things turning around. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way that Ben can keep his job. I don't think the Pirates are in a I don't know, you just rarely see GM changes at this point of the year. I feel like you see GM changes, like you'll see it happen in like August, September to kind of get a leg up on, all right, let's just get rid of him now. We'll have an interim guy for a month or two, and then we'll replace him. You don't see GM changes at this point of the year very often because there's so many things that they've been preparing for. Like they've been preparing for the draft this entire time. They so when you take the GM out of the equation, you're still left with pretty much everybody on staff. Like you're not bringing in new people at this point in the year. Like you're just left with the rest of the guys. So like Ben's gone, but everyone else is still there, and they just get like elevated a spot. So like nothing. It's new leadership, so you're probably gonna have different decisions and stuff, but it's a lot of the same guys. I just don't see it happening right now on the GM level, but I think a managerial change is coming, and it's gonna be soon, especially if this team continues the route that it's going on. Again, they are 12-23 right now. Shelton is clearly still here as of right now, which means he got on the plane to St. Louis, which means he's at least coaching the team in St. Louis. But like you go 1-2 in St. Louis, you lose that series, you're 13-25. You're 12 games under 500, 13-25. Atlanta this weekend, you lose that, you're 14-27. I don't know how you can keep him around. I think Derek Shelton's days are numbered. Like, and the number is low at this point. Ben Cherington, though, I'm going to say not necessarily. And here's what if I'm Ben Cherington, here's my play. Right. So like this is my if I'm Ben Cherington, I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to do something to save my job. I'm looking at the injured list. I'm looking at the IL, and I'm looking at Bubba Chandler, and I'm saying, okay, we're going to get Horwitz back soon. We're going to get Gonzalez back soon. Bubba's going to get called up here. Dowry Moretta will hopefully be available soon. So like all these reinforcements are about to arrive. So here's what I'm going to do. is I'm going to fire Derek Shelton right before those guys arrive. And then you hope that Donnie Kelly, who's your interim manager at that point, that's just how this works typically, guys, is the bench coach becomes the interim manager. That's just sort of how it works most of the time. What if you're Ben, you just got to hope then, okay, once these reinforcements arrive, Donnie Kelly becomes interim manager, and then the team, like from that point forward, plays like slightly above 500 baseball. Like they play the way that like you would have hoped that they would have played going into the year.
Right.
And then if you're Ben, you can point to it and say, see, Derek Shelton was the problem. As soon as we got rid of the problem, we turned things around. So that's my play if I'm the general manager of this team in this current situation. And I feel like that's what we're going to see. We're going to see as soon as these guys are ready to come up and kind of help this team, Derek's gone, new blood. You take over the reinforcements, see what you can do, because that's Ben's play to save his job at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that. Like that is his play. That he has to do that. That's his last card. He's got to do that and hope that comes to fruition. Two things. One, he has to be afforded that opportunity to say, I'm going to play this card. They can simply say, nope. You don't get to. You're both gone. Like that could happen. But obviously that could happen. Like they could allow that to go, and he lets Derek Shelton go, right? Leaves him his duties. Next guy comes in and they do have a change of play. And that could save his job. Or they could also not play above 500 because we expect them probably not to. And they're still not performing to that type of a level. And come the trade deadline, they says, you know what? I still don't see it. You had your opportunity. And do you know what? You guys were accountable together. So, you know what? We have 4 assistant GMs. 4. I think we could find one or the combination to work this draft and deadline and continue. And then we'll make our decision this offseason who the next GM will be. But it's not you because this ain't happening. Again, out of those two scenarios, I think are going to happen. And ultimately, I just have this gut feeling that it's not going to be Ben in July.
Yeah,
that's just where I'm at.
It's bleak. All. It's bleak. I'm disagreeing with you. I don't think Ben's job is going to go anywhere anytime soon. But I think the managerial job has
coming.
Less than 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Is kind
I
of
have
what
a question for you. I want to hear your viewpoint because I've thought about this, and I don't know if this would actually matter or not. But I think we all see the writing on the wall. Bubba's coming up. Is that fair?
I think like when?
This week, probably. At least if not this week, next
week. Maybe. It's soon. Yeah, it's soon.
The Bucco promotion to AAA just kind of makes sense that's happening, right? But regardless, even without that, we know it's coming the next week or two. Do you want him coming up here with Shelton or the chaos of no Shelton? Does that come into play also? Is that a thought?
Well, so no, I don't want anybody coming up with Shelton. If it were up to me, Shelton would have been gone yesterday. Okay. So it's so no. I think changes need to be made, and like I said, I think that the manager needs gone. I think the general manager needs gone, and that's just the point that we're at right now. So no, if it's up to me, no, they're not here.
No, I was asking. I'm like, does Bubba tie into this at all? Like, I want Bubba to come in where there's some stability and then make the decision, or like let's just have this chaos come up and Bubba's like here looking around like what the hell's going on, what they come into, and that affects him. Or no, like it doesn't matter, you just make the right move.
I don't think a move like this changes the psyche of a Bubba Chandler too much.
Okay. I just want to throw that out there.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else? besides Derek Shelton also doesn't know what to do.
No, I think that'll
Speaking
do
of
it for that
quotes.
talk. Let's shift gears a little bit
Yeah.
here. I know we today this past weekend was the opening weekend of the Florida Complex League. So a bunch of new draft picks from last year getting their first time on the field. You had some people coming up from the Dominican Summer League, stateside for the first time, and our Bucs On Deck correspondent, Baseball America correspondent, DK Pittsburgh Sports correspondent, Anthony Murphy. He was down there in Bradenton this weekend checking everything out. So Murphy, welcome to the show.
What's going on, guys?
How's it going?
Interesting discussion going on this morning.
Lots of interesting discussion. Yeah, I told Murphy, I was like, we'll have you on after we're done with the Shelton Cherington talk. And I was like, they'll probably be around 7:30. And I was like, depending on how long it takes.
I just realized what time it is.
I said bet on the longer end,
hell.
right?
Yeah. Murphy, it depends on how long that takes. And I was like, we're planning on being done with it around 7:30, 7:35. Well, it's 7:55 now. So I think that segment went a little longer than we thought it was going to. So you were right.
Yep.
But
shocking.
But no, let's talk about this. So the Complex League opens up this weekend, and again, let's shift gears. Let's talk about something a little bit of refreshing, some promising stuff. These guys are all very far away from the major leagues. Obviously, this is the lowest level there is in the United States. A lot of these guys are, 17, 18, 19 years old, but it's our first chance to get a look at some people, especially the new draft picks. So as far as like the 2024 draft class, let's just talk about them real quick. Who did you get really your first look at? I know we saw a lot of these people down in Pirate City during spring training, but who were you particularly looking at, and what did you see?
So, starting with the 2024 draft class, you had Wyatt, Sanford, Eddie Renders, and Levi Sterling. They all made their, I guess, official pro debut on Saturday. I know we had a chance to see Levi at Pirate City pitch a couple innings. He struggled a little bit with the control and stuff like that in his first start. I kind of mentioned on the site the other day when I was kind of like previewing the Complex League, just based on little stuff that I'd been seeing and stuff like that. I kind of thought that maybe he would get off to like a little bit of a slow start while he adjusted to pro ball. But because he was one of the younger pitchers in the draft class, and his stuff's still a little bit raw and everything like that. But the upside's there, so I figured maybe he'd struggle a little bit to start. But once things start to get going, you'll really start seeing it. Wyatt Sanford was the second round pick. He's looked. I don't think I've seen any bad at bats or anything. I'm at the point now to where I know it's early, but I want to buy me some Wyatt Sanford stock now while it's kind of available. Great bat to ball skills, speed, super aggressive on the bases. He in the third inning, the run that he scored, he got hit by a pitch, he stole second, he advanced on a pass ball, and then he scored on a drop strike 3 as the catcher was throwing to first base. As soon as the catcher threw it, he took off for home and he scored. So super aggressive, makes solid contact. He left the game because his right foot had to be sore at that point, because he took 2 pitches off the foot, and then he fouled another one off the inside of his foot, and he was he stayed around to run the bases, and then at the top of the next inning they pulled him. So hopefully everything's okay with that.
Yeah.
And then Eddie Renders, I think, was the guy that was kind of a little more unknown out of everyone, and I didn't get a chance to see him while I was there in spring training. Looked pretty good. You can see the frame that, I know some guys talking about the draft said that they saw maybe a 20-25 home run type of hitter with that. You could see the frame that once he fills out, that can support that kind of power. He ripped a double down the first base line, scored a runner there. Looked good, made a really good play at third base. So yeah, outside of the Levi kind of shaky starting for when it comes to the 2024 draft picks, it was a really good day for him.
Yeah. I thought it was there's some interesting bats here because between Sanford and Renders, those are second round pick, fourth round pick, decent signing bonus, high, and then they're high school bats. So you don't really they're going to take a while to develop, but they both kind of bring some tools to the table that are interesting. Renders will be interesting to watch just because being from Milwaukee, there's probably not it's just a cold weather bat, so you it's just hard to kind of assess those people out of high school. So getting him every day at bats will be cool. They just played the one game, right?
Yeah, they play another one later today that I'll be at.
Okay. And then as far as the non-draftees, the guys from the international classes, Edward Florentino, I know is kind of the name to watch there. What did we see out of him? I mean, it's just one game, but I know he's kind of the exciting name down there as far as like guys who seem to be kind of climbing prospect lists.
I think the biggest thing that came to mind watching that game was like he's super patient. Like he's not gonna chase. He's not gonna go outside the zone. For someone who like basically just turned 18, very knowledgeable of the strike zone. Just very advanced. It kind of seems for that age, for that level. I know I talked to a couple people while I was down there, and they all said that they felt that there was a chance he could have just skipped the complex altogether. The Pirates really don't have that. They don't have a tendency to do that, so they start him in the complex. But he's the guy I could see one game, so like I want to see more. But also, he's a guy that I kind of expected going into the year that he could potentially hit his way out of the complex fairly early. Like it may not be a case of complex season ends and then you send him up. We can get like a month or two in maybe and go ahead and just give him that push.
Okay. Any so we talked about Levi Sterling, Wyatt Sanford, Eddie Renders, Edward Florentino. Any other pitchers that it's like let's keep an eye on these guys?
I mean, there's a couple coming up from the Dominican that I was kind of interested in. I think the main one would be like Reno Navarro. He was a DSL All-Star last year. Baseball America actually like noted him for having the best fastball in the DSL All-Star game. Left-handed, throws about 95. Had like 37 strikeouts in like 20 some innings. Quite a bit of walks, but like I think that's kind of the thing with a lot of the kids coming up from the Dominican and all that stuff. So you kind of hope he gets stateside. You teach him a little bit of control. He's probably, of the arms that I haven't seen or coming up, he's probably like right there at the top of the ones that I'm hoping to catch while I'm down here. So he'd be up there. I know Gavin Adams, he's not listed as someone on the injured list. He was a 2024 draft pick. They said he was like a guy who was hitting triple digits, had Tommy John while at Florida State. So I don't know. I'm not too sure what the time frame is. He should be approaching around the time when we'd see him back on the field. May not be while I'm down here, but at some point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how long are you down there for? Down here?
I'm here I'm here for the whole week, pretty much.
Good stuff. Is Bradenton home too? Do you get the double?
Yeah, they like split like a home road series this last week. So I got in this weekend so I could catch the opener, and then they're home against Lakeland, which be a good matchup because it's like the two top prep kids from last year's draft class. So that'll be fun.
That'll be fun. Yeah. Complex league during the day, Marauders at night.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right, Murphy. Thanks for joining us. Sorry we don't have a ton of time for you, but start of the complex league. So like as of today, like you've got, instead of 4 affiliates going, we're up to 5. When does the Dominican Summer League start? That's still got another month or so.
It starts June. Yeah, I think it starts June, like early June.
Okay. Yeah. So 5 daily baseball games in the minors going forward. 6 if you count the minor league team at the major league level.
Got him.
All right, Murph.
All right.
Have a good one. Have a good time down there. And if you want to follow along with Murphy's in-person reporting down there in Bradenton, Bucs On Deck, Baseball America, DK.
Yep. All right.
Good stuff. Thanks, man.
All right, man.
Appreciate
Thanks for having
you.
me on.
All right. See ya.
All right,
There we
Jim.
go. Nice
The future,
little change
baby.
of pace there. Change of pace.
Yeah.
I will say this. I'm interested in seeing, like, draft day. I wasn't super excited about Wyatt Sanford, but I keep hearing really good things about Wyatt Sanford, like from that
Yeah.
day till today. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Levi Sterling, I did get to see him while I was down there in March, and like you can see why people like him. So yeah, some exciting stuff going on there in the complex league. You did mention it earlier too. I mean, we'll just touch on it. Hunter Barco, who's been dominating in AA, hasn't given up a run all year. He's been promoted to AAA, so he's one step closer, and he looks just unbelievable.
Yes.
And so you hope that with that move, it's like, okay, Barco to AAA, Bubba to the majors, because Bubba Chandler with another outstanding outing this week as well, and he just continues to dominate AAA hitters. So I don't really think there's much more there for him to do. So like the majors are the next step for him, and it's very close.
Yeah, 100%. I just want to say this real quick about Barco. We had Eric on, and Eric was Barco, and Harrington. Well, you know what? Kind of seeing his ways right now and his ideology. Barco is just tearing up. So I'm really interested in seeing what he does in AAA. Now, innings will be an issue for him, right? I don't expect him to be in the majors this year at all, especially with the way this team is going. There's no point. But I'm definitely interested to see how he performs in AAA because he's not young too. He's ready to get there. So
I think that's the thing. Like he was drafted as more of an advanced arm.
Mhm.
The Tommy John surgery kind of put him a year behind schedule. But I mean, he's 24, so we're not talking about a 22-year-old or a 21-year-old. Like he's a 24-year-old, pitched in the SEC, moved through the system relatively quickly once he got healthy, and performed really well at all levels. And so I'm excited to see what he looks like in AAA.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So to the Quad A team, they play the St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis, as you already stated. Jim, last time we talked about them, good offense. Pitching's it's bad. Offense cooled down a little bit. I think pitching's a little better. The matchups are interesting, I'll say. I don't know if we can feel good about the series or any series at this point in time, especially this one's in St. Louis. But, I mean, Paul Skeens does pitch as well as Mitch Keller in this series. So if there's one thing you think you want to do in your way and there's a series you need to take, at least, I mean, those two are pitching. But I don't know, Jim. Carmen today, Paul tomorrow, and then Mitch the next day against Sonny Gray.
Yeah. Murphy trolling here. Technically, they could bump Carson Fulmer up. That's what he's saying instead of Bubba. Let's get out of here with that, Murphy. No, so yeah, Majinski starting today.
He's not coming on again.
Majinski starting today, and I like what they did with Majinski last outing, where they didn't let him face the lineup a third time, and he pitched well. Like, I think you got to give him credit for how he pitched his last time out. I think it was just another outing though, where like he couldn't go 5. Like he looked good and he still couldn't go 5.
Right.
And especially with Bubba Chandler knocking on the door, like, is this Carmen Majinski's last start? And if so, what does it look like? Do they do a similar thing where they piggyback him with someone else, or they look to couple him with a if it were me, I would probably use an opener for Majinski if you really want to use him like this. But that's just kind of how they're doing it. But that's going to just be interesting to see how they use him. But yeah, I mean, you got Skeens going against Liberatore on Tuesday, Keller against Sonny Gray. I think these are, the Pirates faced Liberatore and Gray already this year, right? So yeah, Liberatore, they lit up. I mean, they scored 5 runs off of him his last time out. Since that game, though, Liberatore has kind of turned things on. His 4 starts since then, 0 runs given up, 2 earned runs given up, 1 earned run given up, 2 given up. So like he's been a lot better since that start. But the Pirates did tag him a little bit, knock him around. Sonny Gray is he's their best pitcher on that staff. Pirates faced him too, and he kind of rolled through the lineup. He only went 5 innings, but only gave up 1 run. And I mean, he's a good pitcher. Sonny Gray's a good pitcher. We all kind of know that. Michaelis is the guy who I feel like historically has just dominated us, and it's like he's one of those. He's so frustrating because like the stuff just looks bad. He had a really
it doesn't look
rough.
Bad. It is.
he had a really rough start to the season, but he's coming off back-to-back scoreless outings too against the Braves and the Reds. So like he's hot right now. And this is a lineup that the Pirates just got shut out by Steven Kolek, right? So you don't feel good about where we're at right now heading into this series offensively. They have cooled down a bit, the Cardinals, but Mason Wynn is heating up a little bit because he wasn't doing well before. Lars Nootbaar's having a good season.
Now
that he's healthy. Like it's still a pretty decent lineup. The bullpen.
Jordan Walker isn't that guy.
Jordan Walker is not that guy. Yeah, the bullpen is shaky. I mean, you've got Helsley, but like you feel like if you can get deep into the bullpen, you've got you feel pretty good about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's. Like it's on the road against the Cardinals, and this is just a team that's beat us up for the last 30 years.
Right.
That's kind of that's where you're sitting. They are in 4th place. They're 16-19. They're not having a great season, but they are 4 games. They're 4 games ahead of the Pirates right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that pretty much takes care of it. I do just want to bring up the matchups. I mean, Sonny Gray is good. He's not having a Sonny Gray type season so far this year, but it's still good. And that's against Mitch Keller, who's also who is he? And then, as you mentioned, Mikolas and Majinski, who knows what's going to come out of that? The Skeens and Liberatore, though, Liberatore's 7th in FIP, I think, in all of baseball. Starting pitchers.
I mean, he's been really good since that Pirates start.
Yeah, he's putting together a good year, and he was a top prospect once. He hasn't really found his way. He's been in the reliever role, starter role, bouncing back and forth, but he's just started right now, and he's performing well. And it's him for Skeens. And by no means am I trying to talk this up and saying, he's on Skeens' level. What I am saying is he's pitching fairly well enough that with his Pirates offense, he can look like Paul Skeens on that day. And that's why that matchup is going to be kind of intriguing because, these matchups, I think they pair very well. So who's going to come out? We'll find out. But the offense has to wake up. If the offense has to wake up, that there's no chance for all those reasons.
Yeah, they got to score. They need to score because unless the pitching goes out there and shuts out their opponent, you're at a risk of losing every game at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okie dokie, Jim. So now that it's 8:13 this Monday morning, because apparently we brought Anthony on at 7:55. We out of here.
Off the rails there. Yeah, let's get out of here. Post game shows this week. Make sure you RSVP to the tailgate on May 24th. So we're 3 weeks away from our NS9 tailgate. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. Permanage will be catering it. Come hang out with us. Team may be out of it, but should still be a fun time. It's a Saturday in May. So yeah, it'll be fun. So come RSVP to that. Hang out with us there. And if you haven't watched the Jack Wilson show from Thursday, go back and check that out. It was really good. That was really good. And we didn't really talk about it wasn't really a reminiscing sort of show. We talked a lot of current stuff. So lots of relevant topics discussed there.
Yeah. It's very insightful for many reasons in different areas. So yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't yet. And do all the other fun stuff. Check us out everywhere. I can't wait though. The 24th. It's gonna be fun. Regardless what happens. It's gonna be a good time. So come out and have a good time with us. And then we can have a good time afterwards.
Yeah. And then we'll tease it. We haven't officially said it yet, but our sponsor, DeFair Coffee and Tea, just if you're local, there might be a live show going on at the coffee shop that Monday morning. So
that's right.
Come hang out with us there. We'll announce that soon.
Yeah, come have coffee with us. We'll announce it for sure, but come have coffee with us if we do. And hey, if we do or don't, go get coffee anyways. Defair.coffee. Go get yourself some coffee. We are out. We will see you again tonight. Bye-bye.
See you guys. All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucs.